Hopefully, everyone is having a fantastic weekend so far. I mean, it pretty much just got started, so how bad can it really be? This is a deck that I have actually been continually working on, testing, trying to make it playable. Because if you follow our meta updates, if you don't, you should every single Wednesday except for this coming Wednesday because I won't be home. But we track all the tops of the format. And there is a spreadsheet linked in this video as well as all of our other videos tracking all that good information. You would see if you follow that video series that Ruby has 0 tops so far this format. So it really didn't do good last format either. Ruby's not in a great spot. However, I do think that it got some really nice tools, namely being the Headless Horseman, the 5 cost card, which puts in so much work. For those who are unaware, when you play it, you can banish a character with 2 strength or less, but almost more importantly, during your turn when an opponent's character is banished, each of your chosen characters get +1 strength this turn. So we're playing a blue deck, right? You're playing ramp, which means that if you hit like Tipo on 2, or even like your Cinderella on 3, and then you go into your Headless Horseman, you can get insanely strong trade value from these cards. You play your Horseman, you banish a card, then you can both of your characters get +1 strength. So now all of a sudden your Tipo swings for 2, your Cinderella can swing for 3 if you so choose. I know depending on your hand you want to leave her kind of sit so to help continue fixing your hand, but sometimes you have to be aggressive and force that threat out. And whether you challenge with her or you challenge with Tipo, if one of them banishes a character, once again, your Headless Horseman's not once per turn, so he will trigger, giving the other one another one, so meaning your Tipo can swing for potentially 3, or your Cinderella can swing for 4. I've been finding that ability has almost been more important than the banishing effect from the Headless Horseman. However, being able to just clear a genie and things feels very, very strong. And who would ever thought that, blue has an item where every time you ink, which we kind of do that in this deck, you can make a character lose 2 strength. And obviously I'm talking about Sapphire Coil. So I think Coil actually finds its way back into the deck kind of nicely, which also pairs up with our Sisu Daring Visitor. Once again, she finds her place back into the red-blue strategy, and when you play her, you get to banish a character with 1 or less strength, which means if you have your coil out, you ink a card, you give it -2, so now all of a sudden a character that once had 3 strength now has 1, so your Sisu can take her out. We are still playing the Mulan shift line, so that Mulan 1 cost card, which happens to be a princess, so it does trigger our Cinderella to not only help fix your hand, and maybe if you saw up here in the top left corner, 18 uninkable cards, and you're like, that's way too many uninkable cards, but we're playing Tipo and Cinderella, which both of these cards help get uninkables out of your hand. In testing, I've had games where I had like 4 uninkables in my opening hand, but I had Tipo and Cinderella, and I was just able to ink and get out of that situation. Once you get to a point where you all of a sudden, you get to a point where you don't have to keep inking and you can play very strongly. Another thing I like is, say you have your Cinderella, instead of inking a card, if you play like Mulan, don't ink one of your inkable cards at the end of your turn. Use your Cinderella to ink it, because then you can draw a card. Obviously, if you ink it and have another card to do that with, you can double ink. That's perfectly fine. But if you're only going to ink the one turn, don't ink for turn. Ink for the Cinderella, because then it replaces itself and draws you another card. So in our 2-drop spots, we're running the Tipo package. Shouldn't be too surprising there. Blue decks are going to Tipo. That's just kind of what they do. Like I said, the Sisu actually putting in some nice work here with that Sapphire Coil. Cinderella. Kita is a princess as well, so not only does she help ramp, if you can go ramp on 2, Cinderella on 3, Kita on 4, you're ramping incredibly aggressively, and Cinderella is now fixing your hand twice. Kita has ward, so she's going to be able to get her ability off far more than not, because most board wipes are not going to happen at that point in the game. Prince Philip's probably like the only one that can actually hit her, because she's not a 3 cost card, so Spooky Sight does not apply to her. Another draw engine, Queen of Hearts. Not that you necessarily challenge a ton in the deck, but you can, and sometimes even just throwing like Tipo or Sisu or Kita, like cards that aren't, I guess Kita's a terrible example because Kita gets crazy value. If they leave your Kita unchecked, just keep using her ability. Don't even quest for one most of the time. Like being able to fix and tutor your draws and ink in the process. Like Kita's wild if she goes unchecked. But your Queen of Hearts, like you throw Mulan, Tipo, Sisu, you throw these cards into your opponent just to draw cards or replace them. But if you can get to like Maui Half Shark with your Queen of Hearts out, now all of a sudden you're challenging in, you're getting a action back, you're drawing a card in addition, and then you just get a really nice loop with those cards for almost infinite resources, it feels like, just by challenging your opponent. Like I said, Headless Horseman, this card is such a strong card in this deck. Absolutely recommend playing it at 4. This deck can be very high roll. Like we maybe don't see as many big threats on paper as far as like multi-questing, things like that, but being able to play 4 Maleficent and 4 Hades. Maleficent is so strong because it doesn't ink your opponent. They don't get the free resources. Obviously Hades, you gotta do it at times, you have to, so it makes sense just to play them both. The Shift Mulan, I mean, it's another princess for the deck, and we are also playing the Medallion Weights, which means when you don't shift her, you can use your Medallion Weights, give her to 4 strength, challenge into something, do 4, 4, 4 across the board with the triple shot ability. She puts in a lot of work and applies a weird pressure to your opponent as well. Maui Half Shark, like I said, isn't a multi-quester like these other top-end cards. However, it's a 7/5 evasive that, well, he just gets you so many good resources, and also every time you play an action gets you lore in that regard too. So Maui Half Shark is still an incredibly strong top end card, and it's like how does Ruby not see success when it has such strong cards? It pretty much, in my opinion, needs to get paired with either Amethyst for the consistency or Blue for the ramp. Outside of those, I think that Ruby does struggle. Looking at our action cards now, we have Develop and Vision for consistency, Sail for the ramping, and I went to 3 Spooky Sight, with Purple Steel being just absolutely everywhere. And in addition to that, we're seeing like Sea Dogs, Chroma Dogs also being insanely popular. So I've been going to 3 Spooky Sight in a lot of my decks. It's been doing pretty good for me and working out really well, and it's just another Headless Horseman card, so how can you not want to play more of this card? Just look at the artwork on it. 1 Pirate's Life. I really only want to see this card later game when I'm trying to close it out, and otherwise it's ink. So if I get to it later game, I'm okay with that. Like, even Weird Scenarios top decking at the -2 is actually helpful against your opponent, but getting it into rotation late, like with a Half Shark, is really strong. If you see it early, you ink it. It's not a card I want to see early ever. I went to 2, and I'm perfectly fine like just inking it. I'm like then never seeing it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to 1, because if I can ink it and never see the other copy, I'm do just fine. I might as well go to 1 and be less likely to waste it in the ink, but at the same time, not falling apart if I don't get to it. Then playing the 3 coils and the 1 Medallion Weights. Medallion Weights, again, pairing up with your Mulan really nicely, but being another little pseudo draw engine, kind of like Queen of Hearts is, as far as challenging goes. And then your Sapphire Coil, which can help you with your Headless Horseman and your Sisu removal. But not just that, like your Sapphire Coil too, remember, you can trigger your coil, reduce their strength, so that way when you challenge into them to draw a card, your character is more likely to survive because they have 2 less strength in the process that way. So Sapphire Coil has been absolutely crazy, and it's one of the cards that I've actually not been seeing a lot of other people playing it. Not that the deck's super popular, seeing a lot of success. I did take it to set championships last format, so seeing Spooky Sight and Headless Horseman, Cinderella, these 3 cards are so insanely strong for this deck. Where do I think this deck could rank? If more people tried it, I think that they would see it's actually better than most people give it credit for. And honestly, I would say, as far as how good is the deck, I'd say it's a low tier 2 deck, absolutely. Tier 2 is where it would end up for me. Unfortunately, it's probably going to stick in that rogue category, because I do think someone's going to end up topping with it, or a couple someone's are this format. But I don't know if there's going to be enough tops to push it into the technically tier 2. But as far as how strong is the deck, I think it's right on par with some of the other decks that are in tier 2. So that's where I'd have to say the power level of the deck is it's a tier 2 deck with rogue representation, so it'll be more in that rogue category. But it's definitely a deck that I would like to play a little bit more. This format, we'll see how much exactly. Online, I play it a lot. In person, I don't know. I got to get my half sharks, and I sold my Cinderellas because I don't play them in Blurple anyway. So we'll see. We'll see if I decide to play this deck in person or not. But let me know what you guys think about it. Is Ruby just truly cooked for another format, or is Ruby Amethyst or Blue Red, are one of these decks going to say, hey, Ruby's actually not complete, crap? I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. But thank you guys for watching. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Take care.